Hello guys, game 2 here of the BGFO with myself, TKiNewbie versus QQDragon. This time I get to play his best race, apparently, which is Protoss, or his worst, he doesn't even know. Sorry, the game's a little bit underway, nothing really happened there for the first few seconds. I'm just sending out my typical drone scout across the map, as well as QQDragon sending his probe scout across the map. It looks like he's opting to go for a forge fast expand with his pylon placement here. That's pretty much a strong indication that he's going to be dropping a forge somewhere in here. Cannons behind, maybe gateways to wall this off, and then his nexus is going to be over here. And it looks like I scouted right off the bat, scouting the cross position location. Seeing this pylon, seeing this probe come down, I'm going to see the forge, and there it is. I know it's a forge fast expand, and he's not going to have any gateways or early pressure units like that, so I know that I can do some stuff. And here I am opting for the proxy hatch, and QQDragon scouts this out. There was some practice games before this tournament a few days before, and I had actually owned him with this proxy hatch, and he didn't scout. So this time he scouted, but being a noob, he doesn't know the proper response. Pulling all workers off the line is not the right response. All of this lost mining time and waste of resources, and he's barely draining it right now as it is. The correct response is build a pylon out of sight, because the hatchery does not provide much sight around it. Build a pylon and then build some cannons so that the cannons finish right when the hatchery finishes. That's the best response you can have. 1 or 2 cannons is good. 1 is risky. It can still cause a little bit of damage. 2 is to guaranteed kill it, and although you've invested in a lot to kill it, it sets the Zerg back as well if he lets it finish. So anyway, here I go, attempting it again, and again he sees it, so here's his response once more, pulling off all of his probes off the line. His income is severely going to be hindered here. As you can see, he has way more harvesters than me, but way less income. That's because they're all fighting my hatchery. So back to the production tab. I'm opting to fast expand myself, and I have my spawning pool up. He's got his gateway just thrown down now, as well as a cannon. I don't like this placement. I'd like to see it tighter. A cannon up here, or the gateway back a little bit more. From here, this cannon isn't going to be able to fully cover ranged units attacking the front of his base. Anyway, he does stop the hatchery. Sorry, I forgot to show that I cancelled that there. I come down here, scout the cannon, get a little bit too close, and lose my drone. I see his cybernetics core going down, so I know it's going to be quite some time before any tech comes out, or I have to worry about any kind of gateway warp push. He's throwing down his gateway before his nexus. I don't agree with this. If his concern is getting units, he's not building any, so I don't know what this second gateway is all about. I think this is a bad decision here, and he could have already had that nexus thrown down. Now I'm going to be way ahead. I already have my my hatchery up here, and here I am just droning up, expanding. And he's just throwing down his nexus now. He's probably going to get warp, OP warp, and start the chrono. As we can see here, not much else is going on. I am ahead in supply. That's typical for Zerg because we have a stronger earlier production rate. It looks like I've opted for fast roaches, and I'm going to start applying pressure to the front of his base. All he has is this one cannon. He's not producing any units out of his gateways. If my roaches get here... Oops, I apologize. If my roaches get here, this can cause some trouble for him. Looks like he's throwing down 2 more gateways, going to go for a really delayed 4-gate, optimally off of 2 bases. 6 gates or more is definitely an optimal amount. Opting to go for the ground weapons 1 upgrade, early +1 on him, but he has absolutely no units. And as you can see, this cannon is out of range from defending against these roaches. If the cannon was up here, my roaches would not be able to harass his forge like this. So he had to cancel the upgrade, and he's going to lose his forge, which puts him at a strong defensive risk now because he cannot build any more cannons. All he has out is this one stalker. I have 5 roaches up in his base. Is game 2 going to be it for TKiNewbie and QQDragon up this soon? We'll have to wait and see. Here I am harassing his gateway. Again, closer cannon placement would allow his cannons to protect his buildings. I can only assume he put them back here to protect the cannons themselves so that the roaches couldn't run up and snipe them, but it's almost kind of irrelevant. Like, if you're not going to protect your wall, it really doesn't make a difference. So here he is using OP warps, summoning in tons of stalkers here and cleaning up my roaches. I didn't quite get that warp gate, which is what I was going for, so he does still have his remaining warp gates. Is going for a Robotech build without even scouting or following up. He doesn't have any idea what I'm doing. I guess he saw the roaches and decided he wants OP Coloxin and Immortals. So here we are. Down here, I've just built some stuff up, getting a couple spines in case a counter push comes. As we can see, that's not coming. We're going to have a look at the units station here. I have 31 drones to his 20, now 28 probes, so I am ahead slightly economically, but as a Zerg, you never want to be equal with your Protoss opponent. You have to outplay them, you have to out-macro them, you have to out-econ them, you have to have more drones than them, you have to harass more than them. Basically, OP Protoss can just be easy, turtle in their base, push out with their OP force field and warp, and then just warp reinforcements right in your base and kill you. Yeah, as you can tell, as of late, I have a little bit of resentment towards Protoss, but it goes along with the trolling of this BGFO tournament, which is all about Battle of the Forum trolls. So I have quite the persona on the forums, and I gotta live up to my reputation, don't you know? So anyway, here we are, opting to get missile attacks and Carapace. I'm double upgrading right here, trying to stay on top of QQDragon. He has not rebuilt a forge, so I'm definitely going to come out way ahead. He does have one. Even if he begins upgrading right away, he's going to be behind on armor or attack. And here he is, just warping in stuff, scouting around with his observer. That's good that he got an observer for scouting. I'm opting to get a spore just in case. Always nice to have. You never know what's going to come out. Could be DTs, could be surprise Void Ray Phoenix, whatever. You don't want to lose the game to one cheese unit when you could have just built a spore and been safe. So here we go. It looks like he's now just one worker ahead of me, so for the most part we're probably pretty close economically, and I need to do something to pull ahead at this point in time. Here he is sending as an observer to scout my base, but my spore that I built scouts that out and my queen gets the kill. Poor control on him. He did not pull that away in time, loses his observer for nothing, gains no information, and now I've built an overseer knowing that he has detecting units out on the field. I want to be able to scout any other observers he might have, as well as scout his base. So here we have QQDragon just building up a gateway army with one immortal. I'd like to see more. Well, he does have more observers coming. If he plans on pushing against my roach army, more immortals are better than stalkers, although he does have OP force field here loading up on these sentries, so that's going to go a long way for him. It looks like he has a good saturation on his natural and a good saturation on his main. Same with myself over here. Decent saturation on both, perhaps a little bit oversaturated. Actually, no, it looks pretty good right about here. Opting to take my third while I push out. It's safe to expand behind pushes. So anyway, Dragon going towards his third as well, working down the rocks. Here I am with my army across the map. I do have this overseer and his base dropped a changeling, so I will see what's going on and decide to attack the front, realizing his army was out of position. But you know what? That doesn't matter because OP Protoss can just lay down force fields and indefinitely hold me back. There's nothing I can do about this whatsoever. As you can see, force fields completely allowed him to not lose his army and survive that push. Little bit ridiculous that one stupid ability can protect you and renders the victim powerless, really. I mean, it pushes my units out of the way, last 15 seconds. There's nothing I can do about it. I can't break it, destroy it. And it gimps my units out too if they get caught in them or around them. So anyway, here I am going for a second push. This ramp is dangerous with force fields, but he has not placed any just yet. Throwing one down, splitting my army up a little bit, not going to be enough. He's going to have to fall back. He does have one Colossi out now. Is that going to be enough? We're going to have to wait and see. I'm taking down his warp gates here, trying to focus down his production. It looks like he might have enough to hold with his next set of warped-in zealots here, his 2 cannons and Colossi. Going to be able to push me back here, but he did not manage to take a third behind that action. Meanwhile, I have my third up now. It's just a matter of saturation and transferring. I've produced tons of lings here. I don't want to lose to any counter-attack. I've definitely played many games as a Zerg where I've failed an attack and droned hard and then had no army for a counterattack. Dragon, QQDragon, realizing he sucks, but oh, now he has researched OP Blink, so he's gone down a couple of tech paths here. This is nice to see. Does he have Thermal Lance or Extended Thermal Lance already upgraded? And Blink not opting to get the charge just yet. His minerals is slipping a little bit. He could be expanding right now. Here's my Zerglings scouting for that expansion. I also hold map control and the watchtowers around the map. So if we look at my vision here, it's pretty significant. I almost see everything except his base. And if we look at QQDragon, he sees barely anything. He has just one observer out in the middle of the map observing nothing. Here he is building more Colossi. And finally getting some weapons upgrade. This is actually weapons level 2 for him. I have my weapons and carapace level 2 both on the way and half complete. As well, I'm getting my pathogen glands for the infestors, my layer tech's underway, and throwing down that spire so that I'll have corruptors to deal with those Colossi. So here my Zergling was delaying his expansion, or scouting for it anyway, so I just poked and prodded there a little bit, making sure he stays on 2 base as long as I possibly can keep him on 2 base. His army would actually crush mine right now, but I don't know if he necessarily realizes that, and that's why he's kind of indecisive about taking that third, and he's just kind of turtling like most Protoss do. Zero harassment, zero anything. They just turtle. At the perfect time, he pulls back his army, and I send this Ling in to cock block the Nexus yet again, delaying his third even further. I managed to get that, and he snipes my Ling, moving his whole army out again, but still delaying his third. Here I go to take my fourth now. Now, as we can see, I'm pulling ahead here in worker count. 50 drones for 2 base is a little bit of oversaturation. I now have a burrowed Zergling in position here, preventing him from placing the Nexus. He had shift commands for these pylons after the Nexus, so unless he's looking directly at this, he doesn't know that his Nexus didn't get placed, and as you can see, he doesn't know. And here he's just realizing, oh crap, trying to place it again probably, and it's probably giving him errors. You're a noob. You can't place it here. And he's probably thinking, what the fuck's going on? I'm a noob. So he's going to have to either build an observer or pull an observer back, or wait for an entire cannon to be produced. So here he has built cannons. He's going to hardwall off with a bunch of gateways here. It looks like there's a little gap here, but that's not going to be too much of a risk to him. He's got his stalker in position to deal with the burrowed Ling once it becomes revealed. Here I've pooled up my army in the middle, opting for a nice composition, including infestors so that Blink will be less effective. And I also am starting my corruptor production. So here his cannon finally coming up, scouting that Ling, as well as sending the observer over. A little bit overkill for one burrowed Ling. I do see his observer here, but I don't really have any air units to kill it. I could fungal or do infested Terrans, but that is a bit of a waste of energy. Trying to send some Lings in, poking and prodding. I want to see what he has, see how many Colossi he has. And here he is finally taking his third. Now I'm swinging way ahead in the drone count. 82 workers to 50 drones. 50 probes rather. And now I'm on 4 base strong. And this is where I should pull way ahead with my macro. Got my macro hatches rocking here. Got my army pooling to the center, and I'm nearing max at this point. He is too, surprisingly, and as we all know, Zerg armies cannot trade with a 200-200 Protoss Death Ball. So here he is realizing he's pretty much maxed out, opting to push out across the map. At the same time, I'm opting to push out at his third. He catches me out of position in the middle of the map, uses OP force fields. I'm forced to fall back. Luckily for me, he did not cut my roaches off from retreating completely with OP force field, or he would have killed half my army for absolutely nothing. Somehow people think force field is not overpowered, but it obviously blatantly is. Anyway, here we go, sending in my corruptors here to snipe the Colossi. Opting to go for infested Terrans. They bring high DPS as well as attract attention from these Colossi off of my roaches, but he just has so many zealots as a meat shield that my roaches just can't get in on those stalkers or other juicy units. And here we see the Protoss army completely killing my army, and looks like he almost lost nothing. And that's just how strong the Protoss Death Ball is. I mean, his supply begs to differ a little bit, but really I don't know what he lost there. Probably just a few zealots, I would imagine. Looks like I'm trying to reinforce as quickly as I can. I'm actually quite surprised he isn't counter-attacking. Here I have more roaches coming up here. A strong corruptor count. I like this here. He is sitting on 3-1 upgrades, so he is probably ahead of me in weapons, but I have more armor than him, so it's about equal overall. Here I am coming up to the third. He does not know I'm here just yet. He is in a strong position, sending out his observer, but here comes the push. I'm already at his base. Seeing this hard wall here, I'm skirting the Lings by to go do that worker harassment, worker damage, but his army's right here. He's going to be able to clean that up, no problem. OP Blink, putting his army right up there, killing those Lings. I cause no damage, kill no cannons or other buildings. Might have gotten a worker or two, not entirely sure. Flipping back to the units tab for just a second, he's still at 54, I think about the same. I'm at 76. I've expanded a little bit more here and here, so down a couple workers. As a Zerg, you got to be careful not to over drone, because that'll definitely cost you the game. If you have 100 workers, let's say, your army is going to be way too small and too weak to compete with a 200 Protoss army. So 80 workers is the most you want to have as a Zerg player, and that's about where I am right now. 76, that's ideal. So here I am sniping those weak gateways. I just want to try to hinder his production as much as possible. I'm switching into my tier 3 tech now, getting greater spire up, adrenal glands, my 3 ranged attack, and sniping another warp prism. His army here just bouncing in and out. I'm opting to take this engagement because it's a rather open battlefield here. I managed to snipe all of his colossi with my corruptors, but his force fields are just too strong. I have to fall back. I don't have enough roaches. I have locked up too much supply in these corruptors. He's stopped producing colossi. Actually, correction, he's building 2 more as we speak. But apparently he's nervous. I'm now throwing down broodlords. My greater spire is complete. He has no answer for this. Protoss's, well, he has blink, which is obviously an answer to everything. But ideally, Phoenix, hard counter them. Obviously, they can't even shoot air. But really, Mothership and Archons. If you Archon toilet broodlords, it's done. They don't split fast enough, and the delay of invincibility after coming out of Vortex is not a high enough duration to protect the broodlords from Archons. If you Vortex broodlords and put Archons in the Vortex, all of the broodlords die, and it's an insta-give on the Zerg army. How that hasn't been addressed in any of the recent patches, I don't know. Anyway, an engagement coming up here. Catching my infestors completely out of position, killing all of them without getting a single spell off. Great move by QQDragon, but he's going to lose his third in exchange because he's indecisive if he wants to push me or fall back, looking like he wants to fall back. Now I've killed his third, but guess what? He's completely mined out. So he has to make a push and win the game because I'm just too far ahead economically now. I have bases all over the map. And here comes the fight, using OP force field, gibbing out my units here. They're pretty much useless, and lots of Colossi count high again. And because I've turned my Corruptors into Broodlords, I don't have any more Corruptors to deal with these. He's just using Blink and focus firing the Broodlords, which is pretty much what he wants to do here, and he's gonna clean up my whole army. As you can see, a like 100 supply Protoss army just gibbed a friggin' 200 Zerg army with tier 3 units. Broodlords, Infestors, Roaches, Hydras, doesn't matter. Ahead in upgrades, doesn't matter. Ahead economically, doesn't matter. That's the power of Protoss. Here he is falling back again. Trying to hold his third. He actually is out of money now, sitting on 88 minerals, and there it is. Like, he has no more money. He's got a long distance mine, sending all of his workers to long distance mine. He realizes this is it, with 110 supply pushing out with his army. This is going to be the final push. I'm nearly remaxed. All of my forces rallied here towards the middle of the map. I have a decent composition, trying to get some Broodlords up right before this push happens, leaving some as Corruptors to deal with those Colossi. Here come my Lings. I'm going to try to get a good surround here, and Force Field just pushes my Roaches out of the way. The Lings kind of get gibbed on the side. 3 Corruptors isn't enough to take down Colossi at any kind of rate whatsoever, and look at that. 110 Protoss army just gibbed my army. Luckily, because I have like 7 bases to his 0 bases, I was able to reinforce that fast enough to not lose the game. He GG's, and hopes I beat MTL, Metal, which is another player who might be in one of the future rounds. So that was the round of 8, guys. I won 2-0 in this series. Going on to the round of 4 next. I'll probably cast those either later this week or next week for sure, and then the exciting finals for sure I will cast next week. Stay tuned.